Seasonal depression. Do you notice changes in your mood when the weather changes or the seasons change? I'm going to talk about seasonal depression and what you can potentially do about it. I am Robin-Nutritionist, and I help women over 40 get their nutrition in order. And I also help women just like you mitigate symptoms and concerns related to the pause. And I wanted to talk about seasonal depression, and I'll tie the correlation into nutrition in just a bit. But seasonal depression is real, and it affects a subset of the population during the fall and the winter months, and it's more common in women. And it typically starts in October, November, and then gets worse in January and February. So this is depression related to the seasons, often referred to as SAD, seasonal affective disorder. The shorter days and the lack of sunlight really affect us. And not everybody, it's just a subset of the population. And the symptoms of that include tired, sadness, lack of motivation, insomnia, and being irritable, which is the same damn symptoms as menopause. So we got to figure out, is it menopause? Is it seasonal depression? Is it all of that? But I just want you all to be in the know. And so seasonal affective disorder, so SAD, is linked to low levels of vitamin D and sunlight. So the sun is where we get the sun hits our skin, and then the vitamin D is produced and all of that. Well, obviously in the seasons where there's not a lot of sun, then we're not getting our vitamin D, which is a key hormone, key nutrient that we need in our bodies. So, and I'm going to give you a list of states that have the highest levels of seasonal depression, and then which states have the lowest seasonal depression. So with that, vitamin D, and vitamin D is amazing, y'all. I mean, I am all just blown away at how much power vitamin D has in the body, and then how rampant the deficiencies are, especially if you are a person of color, if you have darker skin. Sidebar, but low vitamin D is linked to fibroid growth and COVID and just so many things. And it's an easy deficiency to have and an easy deficiency not to have. And it's so inexpensive. So, and I'm going to tell you the one, of course, that I recommend you get, but just a second. So let's talk about, so having that vitamin D as a supplement. I supplement with vitamin D all year long, and I advise that, but especially in those months where that sunlight in the days are shorter, especially like that's when you may need to double up. So here are some states with the highest level of depression linked to seasonal depression. So are you in one of these states? And I'm not mentioning every state, but here are some of the top ones. So Alaska, Washington State, Connecticut, Maine, so those northern ones, Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, Vermont, Utah, Illinois. It's so cold in Chicago. Oh my gosh. Ohio, Michigan, Minnesota, super cold there too. I just came back from there. Wisconsin, South Dakota, North Dakota, Iowa, Oregon, Montana, Idaho, West Virginia, Kentucky, and I'm going to stop right there. And that I may have not said Indiana. I'm going to stop right there. Those states, if you're in those states, and this is a sidebar, Mississippi has the highest level of vitamin D deficiency out of the country, but not because of seasonal depression. It's because of just the health status and what they eat and don't go outside and all of that. So Mississippi tops the list just of vitamin D deficiency across the board. But the states that I mentioned are the ones that have the highest incidence of depression in the fall and the winter. And there's a correlation between the amount of sun we get, the amount of vitamin D we get, and therefore. So take your vitamin D faithfully all the time, but especially during SAD season. Now, if you live in the following states that I'm going to mention, doesn't mean you don't need vitamin D, but the instances of SAD, so seasonal depression, are just lower here. Vitamin D levels still may be low, but the sun is there more. So in California, which is where I was born and raised, but I don't live there anymore, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, Hawaii, and Florida. That doesn't mean you don't need vitamin D. It just means that the sun is more available for you to get your vitamin D. So what do I recommend? Make sure that you are taking your vitamin D, specifically, I'm always going to say this, your necessary nutrition vitamin D with K2, because, and I'm going to say this, so I recommend that you're taking it with K2, your necessary nutrition vitamin D3 plus K2, because if you are a woman over 40, that K is really helpful for us for helping the vitamin D what it does, what it needs to do, helping the calcium that's in our body get where it needs to get. It's the conductor. So when you're not taking the K, you could be doing yourself a disservice, right? It's not working as effectively. However, you wouldn't take the K if you are on dialysis or you're taking a blood thinner, because it may interact with medications. And I don't want to go off on a tangent about that. So take your D3, your necessary nutrition D3 with K2. I'm going to put the information in the down bar, of course. Now, if you are taking a D already, not necessary nutrition, but you're not taking the K, I'll also put the link to the necessary nutrition K2 by itself so that you can grab that and combine it with the vitamin D that you may already have. Let me write myself a note. I don't even know where my paper is. Is it right here? I'm gonna write myself a note to put that in there. So if you are taking vitamin D already, somebody else's, then you can get the necessary nutrition K2 and marry that with the vitamin D so you're getting the best benefits. Does that make sense? Otherwise, get the D3 K2 that's already formulated for you there. So seasonal depression is a thing. It affects the mood. If you are affected by it, you understand, which is not as vibrant in this time of the year. Yes, we need to get out and find the sun whenever it's available. So today there's some sun outside. I'm going to go get me some. And if there's sun where you are, go get you some. All right. That's all I want to say about that. Make sure you're taking your vitamin D consistently during this season and always, especially if you are a woman in the pause. Down below, I'm putting the information about necessary D3, K2, and then also K2 by itself. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. My intention is always to share with you information that is useful for you, a woman in midlife, in the pause, so that all of us can live vibrant, happy, and peaceful in this stage of our lives, which we're spending, they say, a third of our life in the pause. So we might as well do it up. All right. Peace and blessings. I love you guys. And think well, eat well, and be well until we meet again, which is soon because I come back here a couple of times a week. I'll talk to you later.